Hello and welcome to another edition of the Diversified Semantic Layer podcast. This is an all-star, star-studded, international, global edition in our second go live and somehow stupid enough to do it first thing in the morning. I am joined by all my besties. We got Clint, we got Dallas, we got Greg, we got Jamie, and we got Josh. This is a great day. Hey, guys.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Has this
Good
happened
afternoon.
before? Have we ever all done one before?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Certainly not in video.
Well, no. Nobody wants to see. Nobody can handle that. So, this is a fun one. There's lots of things circling in the community right now about the future of BI with SAP. So let's touch briefly on that from a community news point of view. What's happening in the world today?
So on November 12th in the morning in the U.S. here, there's going to be a webinar called The Future of Business Intelligence at SAP that I believe Ty Miller is putting on that is worth probably checking out if you're interested in the official position of SAP on the future of business intelligence.
That is, you don't want to take it from us, right? Is there another? Was that it?
On November the 14th, which is a quarterly call that SAP is setting up, and again, Ty Miller's running, and that's just to kind of ask any question around roadmap and portfolio and stuff. So that's November the 14th, and I think we're going to post links up on the show notes.
Yeah. And that is, again, if you want the official statement. If you want to ask DS Layer, Twitter, hashtag Ask DS Layer. We're going to take your questions sort of live and on the air if they're not too long and inconvenient for us to actually answer.
Or we can actually answer them.
And I guess some other news right now, if you're not lucky enough to be at SAP Tech Ed in Amsterdam, hanging out in the red light district, you can watch it online. I actually streamed the results of InnoJam yesterday, and I thought that was pretty cool. I've never actually done that before. Lots of HANA, as you might predict.
Always a lot of good content from TechHead.
Indeed. All right, what's enough? I think we've got a meaty subject, and we should tackle it now. Where did this presentation come from, Dallas? Was it the SCN? Was it?
Yeah, it's just these are the roadmaps that SAP has publicly posted on the SAP Community Network.
And so if you've missed those, we'll try and dump those in the show notes as well. But SAP's got a 46-page presentation that talks about the future of SAP BI, I guess. And I don't know that this is necessarily what Ty will be speaking from in a couple of weeks, but we here at the Diversified Semantic Layer thought we would take a swag at what all this means. So as I skip through all the marketing slides and get down to the very end, it strikes me that there's three core tenets. Reliability, presumably without disruption, although I don't want to put, words in the mouths of our friends at SAP. Openness, in reference to an open BI network, and agile visualizations. So I guess my first question to you guys is, are three core tenets really that simple to break down the future of BI for SAP? Doesn't it strike you as infinitely more complicated with all the moving parts in play right now?
I'll take a first stab at it, and I think we all know where it's going to go. It's going to go back to
IQ. I'm going to punch you from.
Well, see, there you go. It's part of the. It's like Superman in Seinfeld. The Sybase IQ is part of DS Layer now. So, if you just look at the sort of the slide above that, in terms of visualization, it's when they talk about reliable access of information and summarize it into two sentences, it's a lot more complicated than that. I mean, yes, we need reliable access to information in our solutions, but that's a very, very complex problem to solve. And my concerns from an analytical point of view is that SAP might be simplifying those moving parts in terms of how to get quality information and how to get your data together. It's the same thing I always harp on about. So that to me is, I know from a product point of view they're merging D&T with analytics and selling it as a bundle, but from the end solution from a customer, I think it's quite a tricky thing to get right.
Okay.
Stunned silence.
One of the things I pick up is just the reliable platform statement. As a customer who's right now, patching our BI4 environment, for near zero downtime upgrades is something that I I really hope they focus on and get to, because that's we've got because we've got a 4-node cluster at the moment in production. And the downtime is significant.
So that's an interesting point, right? I mean, it seems like 4.0 came out and nobody was happy with the quality, right? And finally, after a year, SAP said, okay, the quality wasn't there, it's there now. It's been a year since they said that, and it's still, or 6 months, I can't remember exactly, or maybe 18 months. It's been a while. And it still seems like most agnostic customers are still not on it because they're still having little niggles with stuff that just doesn't quite work, or they don't understand how it works, and so they don't trust it or whatever. Do we think we're at a spot where everybody can go ahead and upgrade? Do we think that this reliable piece is still roadmap and still out in the future, or do we think that it's here?
I would say that now with 4.1, especially with the patch that was released in SPO1, that it's really been reliable for a while as far as stability and performance wise. I think they made great strides, post was SP4, SP5, when things really started getting clean and fast, and we kind of got over all those glitches of the initial release. But there's really no reason to wait if stability is your concern. I mean, 4.1 is solid. It goes up, it stays up, it does, as long as it's configured properly, it does exactly what it's supposed to do. But back to the roadmap thing and to Josh's point, I think we talk about oversimplifying, but I think it has to simplify at some point. And we've been saying this for a while. The platform has been mashed together from all these different acquisitions over the years. There's Seagate Info, there's Business Objects, there's Crystal, there's Excelsius. There's all these different companies worth of code, and it's all still in there and largely in the same way it was acquired. It all works together, but I just don't see that being extensible for the future of where analytics is headed with the volume and velocity of data that we need to be able to make decisions on. It's just not going to be able to last into the foreseeable future.
Just a question on simplicity to the server guys. Dallas, you wrote a blog post, was probably about a week ago, about the APS and how SAP are now saying that you mustn't split that out over various nodes. Is that going to sort of benefit simplicity and stability, or what are your takes on that?
Well, so 4.1 has added a system configuration wizard that it certainly demystifies one of the more complicated processes from the previous versions. So yeah, it's certainly making it simpler for customers. I still have some reservations that SAP is always going to tell you that any vendor is going to tell you that the version that's currently shipping is safe for use. But I guess I'm still not sure that 4.1 is that platform, and so. And when I read about reliable platform, I guess the first thing that comes to my mind is: are we talking about the current platform, or are we talking about a platform that doesn't exist today? Any thoughts on that?
Future direction, right?
Well, and first of all, these are forward-looking statements, right? So SAP is not promising that it will ever be reliable, right?
Thanks for qualifying that. Well, I think there's some mixed emotions in this group. It sounds like, yes, there's steps in the right direction, but no, we don't have the magic bullet. I personally think that installer process is the first thing that needs an overhaul, and as I understand it, it's being worked on. But to minimize that zero downtime upgrade process. I mean, we have one customer. What do they have, like 30 some odd servers, and their roadmap just to do 2 patches over a weekend was an entire weekend of downtime to get it all done. It's a lot.
I don't know. I'm less concerned with the upgrade process than the process once you've upgraded, just making sure that all of your services stay up, that, when you click on Explorer shows up. When you schedule a crystal report, that the crystal report shows up, and that sort of thing. Because I think that's the level of problem people are still having. I mean, I would like for my admins' jobs to be easier, but I'm far more interested in my end users' jobs being available.
Well, I think that comes down to monitoring. I mean, monitoring was a great step in the right direction, but even still out of the box, we have to do a lot to get it running and doing its job. And I would love a monitoring engine that was a little more heuristic in nature and know what I've deployed service-wise and be able to intelligently set thresholds and self-monitor itself without somebody with a PhD like Greg to spend a week configuring the thing. It's all there, right?
So there's another massive online open course coming out for BI admin. Is that right? Have you guys heard about that? Anybody want to plug it real quick that knows more about it than I do?
Other than it's going to be the first massively online open course for BI admins.
It's the first one not about HANA too, right?
BI on HANA, yeah.
No, it's a great way to get some free education, some very technical, detailed information. I think it's a major step for SAP because they used to keep all that stuff behind the education wall, and here they're offering out this course to have you be a smarter, better admin. So yeah, by all means, open.sap.com.
I think it starts in a week's time, if I'm right.
It's about that, yep.
Yeah.
So if I may, I'd like to move us on to the next topic, and that was in that same facet of reliability. Actually say something that, and I'm going to say network of truth and nobody slap me, but we've talked about that a ton in the recent weeks. But the second bullet, I have to ask, does it compete or contradict? It says, ensure that users can trust all their BI content is in one place by bringing non-SAP BI into the BI management environment and accessible via BI Launchpad. The network of truth is this spread out paradigm of BI that we're supposed to be able to trust. How does this mesh with that strategy?
Well, I think part of the network of truth and the trust part is that there are varying degrees of trust, and there's, that has to be an integral part of it is the quality of the data and the quality of the source. I think there has to be some sort of scoring mechanism to say, well, I got this data from Dallas's blog, so I'm only going to put this at a 75% reliable because he gets angry sometimes, and then this other one might be from Wikipedia, and I'm only going to trust that 2% of the time because anyone can contribute to that. But I think there has to be varying degrees. Now, it doesn't mean you can't make good decisions off of mashing all these different qualities of data together and maybe find a core of truth in that. I think that's kind of the key, though, right? It's not a blanket trust of every single thing that's in there like we used to with our single version of the truth.
But I mean, Greg, that's just opening up a can of worms in terms of trying to manage that. I mean, most folks can't get it right managing data within the firewalls within the organization of actually making it sane. If we now need to start putting a percentage variable of what the data is, it's just, I mean, I suppose it's good for us because we'll never not have a job, and this is when everybody says is enterprise BI dead, I keep saying no because there's more disparate data. And what? Must I stop preaching again?
Feature request. The BI5 threat level, like the Colbert report. Here's how big a threat your BI is to your business.
So Eric, when I read this,
Good
aspirational statement about reliable access, I think it's an acknowledgement that the most often used collaboration tool in the enterprise is Microsoft Outlook, and we've had Streamwork integration. Oh, never mind. Now we have Jam integration.
We still have Streamwork integration in Lumira. Don't forget.
I want to point out though to that. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just think they're acknowledging that they want to bring more collaboration on what the truth actually is into the platform, and instead of it occurring outside the platform.
I do love that on slide 21 they call that integration with Streamwork a key innovation.
That's right.
So the way I kind of read that bullet point was it's about accessing. It's just about opening up the Launchpad so you can access other BI tools, right? So maybe you can launch Tableau from the BI Launchpad or click. I'm serious, right?
Okay.
It says ensure that users can trust all their BI content is in one place by bringing non-SAP BI into the BI management environment and accessible via BI Launchpad, right? So that tells me it's not going through SAP BI. It's just available there.
Okay.
But I don't know.
Fair enough. Reliable management was the last item. Yes, please. Yeah, I think that's indications like the system configuration wizard, right? Better monitoring.
I think it's a pendulum swing, right? Because if you think back to the business objects pre-SAP days in the 4 and 5, admin was a side job. Someone just could do it in their part-time. And then when we got to XI and XIR2, really the role of the administrator became a full-time job. And now, in 3.1 and 4.0, it's multiple. That's why they have delegated administration now, right? Because they found out that one person can't do it all. It's too big. So I think we're starting to see a swing back to make it where it can at least be managed by one person, or I think ultimately by a part-time person again, so that it's not so arduous to manage.
So, asking an all-encompassing question about these tenants, it's pretty clear that HANA is part of the future at SAP as a platform. Do you think our counterparts in the HANA world are concerned with these same things? Are they looking at their systems thinking, my downtime isn't a weekend, or I guess they don't have the same kind of repository issues that we have in the business object world, but from a management perspective. Are those problems already solved from the ground up with HANA?
I mean, they've got the DBA challenges. If you're looking at just the database portion of HANA, not looking at the application and the access side, in terms of patching and upgrading and backing up that and how reliable that is if there is failure. From the access app point of view, sort of the code lifecycle of that side would be any challenges that a Java shop would have out of spheres from a promotion management. So I would assume similar issues. From a data point of view, if you're looking at you're looking at the app-centric HANA world, then they in the benefit of having sort of net new, where it's that dream of writing an application and doing the analytics on top of it in one place without moving data around. So I suppose that could simplify things a lot.
I think one of the things I've tried to do with HANA is simplify some of that skill set required. So take a DBA, I mean, you still got your backup and patching and recovery of the database, but you don't have the kind of overhead of indexing. They've simplified some of that with how they've written HANA. So I think the skill set, when you look at a DBA, is probably there's less work for them to do. I guess HANA's still being proven out, or is still pretty new around how you manage a multi-node cluster and how you do your life cycle from dev to test to prod, and they have the challenges around the cost of standing up dev test, QA, prod environment for customers. So that's things to consider.
Just on that, I mean, I think that the takeaway from TechEd for SP7 that you can go virtual for your lower tiers, which I think was a good move. So you don't necessarily have to have the appliances for a sort of low entry point for customers.
Interesting. All right. Anything else before we move it along? I think the next tenant then is very interesting, and that's an open BI network, which is an interesting statement from a monolithic enterprise BI vendor.
I don't think so. I mean, if we, I take that to mean that, wherever your data is, it can be accessed in any tool, right? So we're not worried about, well, do you have a .unx file because that only works with these 3 tools, or do you have a .unv because it only works with these 2 tools, or do you have a BW connection because that only works with, these 3 things and nobody wants it anyway. So I think it's more about that, right? So if I have my data in somewhere in business objects, I can use it anywhere in business objects, is I think what that point is trying to get to, which I think is good, right? I mean, I think right now it's a tremendous pain in the butt when you're trying to explain to somebody that, yes, you have their data in a universe, but you can't use that same universe for both query as a web service and Explorer in BI4, right? It's a layer of complexity and a level of conversation that shouldn't need to happen, and I think we're getting away from it needing to happen.
Well, I have 2 things, I guess, to echo that. On page 30, it talks about exposing universe data sources through web services SDK. Remember we talked about this. It's that movement of that universe being that universal, connectivity layer to get to the BI platform, and does that make it possible for other BI tools to consume SAP Business Objects as a platform versus using it solely as a reporting tool? Like, does that expose new value? And I think that's further echoed on page 17. Maybe I should have figured out how to show this in the Hangout, but interestingly, it does talk about this strictly from an agnostic's point of view. I think it lists the universe semantic layer as the bottom rung before you get to all these data sources, including BW and stuff. So does that signal a shift as well back towards the universe being the single consumer source? That's what I'm really hopeful to hear from Ty when he talks in a week.
Just on that, I think we need to take into context that we're looking at the roadmap for the agnostic BI platform, I think, and I think there are actually multiple roadmaps for the platform. There's one for the kind of SAP-centric view of the world, and there's one for the agnostic view, which may kind of be why that BW is really mentioned only as a data source for the universe.
Anybody have a link? I haven't seen those. No, and it doesn't exist.
Well, that would, if that's what they're talking about doing, then I think that would be great, because that's sort of what we've been asking for since last Christmas. But it's hard. I'll be very interested to hear what Ty says. I'd be very interested if that's actually the way that they expect that to play out, because that's not what I anticipated. I expected them to go much closer to HANA and away from the universe semantic layer.
Well, it comes down to that concept of the universe being a service, less of a platform, so that it can reside universally inside of something like HANA and expose, HANA views in a universe look and feel, or it can exist inside of business objects and expose Oracle in the same kind of way, or BW, and function the same way, and is accessed in the same programmatic way, and then consumed wherever you want to consume it.
So on that topic, from an SAP customer point of view, this was my first ticket, but my perception, very much non-business objects, and I think you guys had all of that at SBOUC, but my takeaway from the keynotes, and I know we spoke about this in length afterwards, but very much the new world of SAP being app-centric, analytics all sitting within the HANA platform, running, as one single entity. Now, would you not expect from the roadmap from a business objects point of view on the BW side, just moving towards the HANA platform is the only way to go? whereas the agnostic people, the universe could become prevalent as it always has been. Stunned silence again.
I mean, at this point, we're guessing. Right?
But I mean, based on that keynote, guys, it was just this app, that app, that app, all solving unique business problems, through whatever mobile interface. And it's the HANA show. That's where it's all contained. Unless I misinterpreted that due to jet lag.
No, I think you're right. I mean, there was, they talked
Thank you,
about,
Jamie.
Yes, you're welcome. It's still morning here. My brain's a little fuzzy.
As is your hairdo.
Yeah.
He's jealous.
Good morning.
It's hair envy. Don't worry.
But yeah, I mean, they talked about analytics several times from the main stage, and none of it was about business objects, right? Which I find very interesting. If they're then saying here that they're going to push everything through business objects, I'm not sure if that's SAP's thoughts or SAP BI's thoughts.
It's a slide deck that we've gotten really before it's been presented on publicly, I guess. I'm assuming, since that presentation is next week. And so it's open into interpretation at this point. So I think we didn't really touch on it. Maybe we won't today. But one of the things that has been said, and I think that this underscores, is that eventually visualizations will be ubiquitous across tools, right? So a line chart will look like a line chart whether it's in Lumira or Webby. And that's all the push with the HTML5 stuff. We can assert.
But it will not look the same if it's in Fiori or HANA or any of the other.
Is that true though?
BI tools.
I don't. There. And this is where I get a little fuzzy. You guys are gonna have to help me out. But I thought they were all borrowing from that SAP UI5 toolkit and CBOM, kind of going forward. Am I wrong?
That's what I heard at TechEd, that CBOM was kind of the go-forward platform, and that the teams outside of the analytics dev team were using CBOM where they could, and they were kind of bringing that together. I think the intent is there that they use one common visualization engine, being CBOM. Whether there's kind of other teams kind of that are off doing something completely different and that then aligned, that's probably, within 20,000 developers within SAP, that's probably likely to happen. But I think the kind of intent from like Sam Yen was that they leverage CBOM.
I think also just a key point for Jamie is that a line chart will never look as good as it looked in Desky.
I already went there.
Unless you have vertical axis titles, right? Guess that? No, you guys never tried to do Desky?
I never tried to do anything with Desky.
Axis title, like you could put.
So,
I mean, come on.
Okay, composure. Let's get back to a serious podcast, people. I think the last thing that stands on this slide is open data manipulation. Like, I wouldn't have thought 10 years ago that would have been something advocated from within the BI platform. Like, that's like, I don't even know you anymore. But that's Lumira for us now, right?
Well, yeah, and I think that was the sort of, what's the right word? I'm sorry, my coffee's not sunk in yet. It's that final acknowledgement of something that's been going on for years anyway, right? That we've talked about when Lumira came. People were doing this anyway. They were dumping data out, putting it in Excel or whatever, and munging it around however they wanted anyway. Now you have a formal tool for it that they can sell and package, and it just, it formalizes something that was in the dark before.
Yeah, which I think SAP is on the right track with that bit. I mean, you can have an enterprise data source and still 20 different people will consume it in 20 different ways. And, some of them have their own cheats, built into Webby to, restructure hierarchies, or they, export it into Excel and merge it with something else to change it. So if we can give them a formal way to do that without having to go change the source data, but still, allowing for a reusable format, I think that solves a lot of pain that we've been going through as we've tried to get to, master data and data governance and things like that. If you can say, all right, here's your sandbox way to manipulate the data. You're not changing the data at the source, and other people can still have their view of it in a way that's meaningful for them. But it's trackable and governable, and we have insight into what you did and things like that. I think that's a tremendous leap forward.
Well, and if you think about it conceptually, I mean, this is something that products like SAS have been doing for 20 years. I mean, you don't change the data source. You pull data into these data sets, and then you let your analysts and your data scientists go nuts. So, yeah, it's a very smart move.
Is that not where sorry, Josh, where potentially SAP have the upper hand on the Click and the Tableau, where they've actually got the enterprise solution as well as the desktop warrior solution, instead of just the desktop warrior solution?
You're talking about data services?
No, I'm talking about the BI platform. So they've got the enterprise BI platform, plus they've got Lumira for your desktop warrior.
Right, so it's accessible via cloud. You can use the same semantic layer and all that, right?
Yeah.
I think that they do. I think that's one thing that SAP gets dinged pretty unfairly on, as they say, well, Lumira can't compete with Tableau and ClickView, which, just as a standalone tool, that's a pretty tough sell. But if you look at Lumira in its intended place in the portfolio, I think that the portfolio can definitely stand up and beat the pants off of any of those third-party tools that are out there.
Something I just wanted to comment on is I kind of read this beyond Mira, so I don't know if any of you have played with the new functionality in the universe in 4.1, but they've added this kind of federation layer capability, which is like mini ETL done virtually in the universe. So the ability to have multiple data sources. They've added OData support, so you can now bring in external data into the universe, and then you can actually mash it up. Do outer joins, kind of pull it all together, spit out some tables that are kind of virtually created by a multi-stage process using a UI wizard to build it, and then that is outputted into your data foundation, and then your users can query that, right? So you can combine that, so like you almost can build it in Lumira to start with, and then you kind of push it into the universe and do that federation capability in the universe, and then provide that context out to users, and be able to pull out in the external data into that and augment your corporate data with stuff, using OData as an example.
Just to be clear, use the words push in, but it's not. There's no wizard there, right? You're recreating in the data foundation what you might have accomplished in Lumira, right?
Yeah. There's no automated way to do it. I mean, basically you drag in all your base tables, and then you kind of just drag and drop joins, and then you specify the output columns, and then you can then take that and then do another stage, and then kind of do another kind of set of calculations or aggregations across that output. So it's a multi-stage process that's virtualized in the universe.
The database geek in me screaming performance is going to be amazing on that.
I was actually thinking you were stringing something else. If you look at what SAP has accomplished with NLS, right, Clint? You've been touting that. I mean, it's super fine federation, and that's what we're also trying to achieve on the universe side.
Yeah, I mean, the NLS solution, I mean, the nice thing about that is they've got that BW application tier that does all the archiving for you and all the logic of where the data sits. Smart data accesses for the agnostic folks, which is great. It really works well, but then you need a HANA instance. That's the caveat. You have to have HANA as your base, your sort of primary node. The federation stuff's great, but for me, as I said, performance is obviously, as soon as you get into a decent amount of data, it worries me because you're going from two different databases, pulling it up through the the BI4 application tier, which I think's resource intensive enough, merging the data and then going to display. So it could, from a small data set, it could work, but as soon as you get with big volumes, it could cause. It just worries me up front.
I think that's just tuning issues, though. I mean, we've used the Federation engine in BI4 quite successfully with pretty large volumes of data. I mean, it's just a matter of having the proper resources for the proper services, and it works really well. I mean, it's not ever going to be as fast as a native query through HANA, but certainly it does pretty well. You might be surprised.
And setting realistic expectations about how it should work is very, very important.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My point in bringing the NLS up, though, is all your base are belong to HANA. It's where the innovation in Federation seems to be really, really, really happening.
Well, on the BW side, you don't need HANA for the NLS yet. You can do it from whether you DB2, SQL Server, MaxDB, Oracle. But obviously, the plan is to get HANA underneath, as your primary database.
Got it. So, hey, look at that. We got a viewer. Wow.
Yeah.
We're sorry.
All right, so let's put a bow on this with the last tenant, and interesting use of the keyword agile. I think that is anybody misleading is the wrong word. I don't want to take it there, but.
You put it out there now.
Oh, did I? Yeah.
I've already tweeted it.
Stupid live.
I'll comment on initially around this, is around that agile visualization exploration, right? So one of the things we've seen from the roadmap is around Lumira and Explorer kind of doing the kind of self-service. And you kind of get the impression that Lumira Cloud is the way forward. What's going to happen with Explorer? I want to know. One of the really key things, I think, and maybe Jamie will agree with me on this, I know you love Explorer, is that one of the key things I love about Explorer and a lot of the customers that I sold Explorer to, they really, really like the ability to just ask a business question using business terms and they could find an answer. And you can't do that with Lumira, right? And you can't do it with Lumira Cloud, and I'd hate that functionality to go away.
So I think that's... it seems pretty obvious that Lumira is the future direction for Explorer in much the same way that Design Studio is the future direction for dashboards, right? So I actually think that they are much closer to each other currently than dashboards and Design Studio are. So I think that that's good. But I think that SAP understands where the value in Explorer is, so I don't think that they're going to, sort of shut it off before Lumira can match that sort of capability, right? I think that Lumira has a long way to go. I think that the cloud piece of it has a long way to go. There's certainly use cases right now where they're fantastic, and I think that that they put some cool stuff together, but I don't think it's mature enough yet to kill off Explorer, both from a feature set idea and it's just an immature platform and whatever else. We don't even have on-premise Lumira yet, which we're going to have before it really gets too successful. So, but I think that SAP is not going to leave the search functionality on the table. I have to believe that they're going to bring that into Lumira or the platform more generally going forward.
On that a tangent, did anybody pick up Tammy Palace's blog this weekend about Lumira on-premise?
No.
I'm paraphrasing, but it certainly sounds like the direction for that is it will exist in HANA. And integrate into the BI4 platform. It's not going to be.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a standalone product. It's going to be native inside of XS, I guess.
It has to be. It's built on HANA. Like I don't think they can pull that out and stick it in the platform somehow.
Yeah, so I'm very interested to see how tightly it integrates, right? I think that's going to be part of it, right? Because if not, and they keep building functionality into Lumiere and all this stuff, then are we going to have two platforms? I mean, that's going to be a very difficult conversation to have with a lot of customers for SAP, I think.
I'm confused. I thought Lumiere or Visual Intelligence was built on top of IQ. Or have they moved it out of that?
You just worry that
On the desktop, right?
Yeah, it is
Desktop
today.
version.
That's why you can't run it on a Mac, because there's parts of IQ that won't run on a Mac.
And don't get all defensive, Clint. Come on.
But yeah, no, anything cloud-based is HANA. And if you're using a HANA data source in Lumiere, then obviously that's HANA as well.
And it's just a data container, right? Don't freak out.
It's just, before my real children were born, you guys know the story,
So I think along that line, though, it's important to kind of echo something that's been coming out of SAP lately. They've said it a few times. We've heard that you can expire tools, but you can't expire content. So there's no reason to freak out if the things are going to change. The platform is going to change. You're watching it evolve right in front of us right now, right? I mean, they're not being specific about it because they can't. But I think the core point is that they know that there's content out there that businesses rely on, and it needs to run tomorrow the same way it runs today. So I don't think it's as big a deal. I think whatever underneath changes, fine. But as long as I can still run what I need to run. Do I care if it's on HANA excuse me, or on a Commodore 64?
I didn't even know that was on the table.
views coming back. Did anyone see that?
What?
Develop and semantics and business views of data locally. I really miss business views. Anyone else use them?
No.
No.
You guys didn't use Desky, I guess. You didn't use business views.
Some Desky sorcery, is that what you're talking
Like
about?
old school. Yeah, you haven't used half the stuff? Business views came from Crystal Decision. And Seagate, probably. Yeah. It was
I
like
was never
the...
even a Crystal guy.
Josh, what's Crystal?
yeah.
It was the old IQ.
Ah.
Ouch. I think the last thing that I wanted to call out that waited till literally the very last sentence of these 9 tenets was the word govern. As all this came together and all the freewheeling stuff that we're hoping to have in this open and reliable platform, I think as new capability is developed, I hope that govern component is there from the get-go, especially with these conversations we've had on the network of truth, and as you look at the future of where BI is going, it's who is creating stuff off in the wild on their desktop, and what does it mean, and where did it land, and who consumed it.
No, I agree. I think that's critical. Otherwise, it's just going to turn into this big mess, right, that no one's going to use because no one trusts it. So that governance part is absolutely the cornerstone.
Man, soapbox, sorry.
I can talk for 2 hours on this, so I won't.
IQ governance, IQ.
No, just you. I mean, I think, Greg, it's a bigger mess. I mean, governments is very few organizations do it correctly. So the more disparate data sources, the more apps everybody's creating, the more social comes in, the more big data comes in, the more mess it's going to get. That's
But
the reality.
I think a lot of companies do it poorly today because it's not baked in as a easy to use part of this ecosystem, right? There's add-on tools, there's manual ways to do it. It's very difficult to pull off correctly. There's a lot of theory and a lot of practice out there that'll teach you how to do it right if you follow it to the letter. But I think if it's built in and it's easy to use and it's a part of all of this network of stuff in your platform, that it's going to make it a lot more successful.
Fair comment, but it's a near impossible thing to get funding for. That portion of the project is almost like, do we really have to do this? And then you say yes, it never gets done until you deliver rubbish, and then it goes, oh, we should have done it. So
It's
for me,
like
it's funding and
performance
education. Yeah, I think it comes from funding and education. People are going to have to get burnt enough to eventually get money to spend on it.
Well, but isn't the idea that they have to spend less money on it because it's more easily governed by the people pushing the data out?
That's
One would
very romantic, Jamie.
And
I'm
let
a
me go.
dreamer.
I have to go feed my unicorn now. Hang on.
That poop Skittles.
Hey, it's roadmap. It's roadmap. It can be whatever we want.
The Oswald eyes can do miraculous things, but not that.
So, I guess one more question for you all, and it was a theme prevalent in this deck. They're all supported by mobility, and I'm personally happy with the direction that the mobile app has taken in the last year. But is there much innovation outside of bringing in existing tools? Maybe visualizing Lemire stuff on a mobile device. Forget the cloud. Or getting a web report in. Is there much left in the mobile innovation space that we haven't seen already for BI?
I think probably creation is the last, large step left out there. So if we can get that figured out, that will get us a lot closer. But I do think you're right. I mean, I think that where we're at from a mobility standpoint is eons beyond where we were a year ago, or definitely 5 years ago, when it just meant we'll format reports for your BlackBerry, right? But I think content creation is the last thing that will continue to bother people. I don't know how real that actually is. Like, I don't know how much use it will actually get. But we'll see.
So, content creation's kind of possible with Lemire Cloud, right? And that's just that's offline data that I've uploaded to the cloud. I can't do anything with it, but that's, I guess, technically possible, putting on my SAP hat. But I definitely think that space could be played out as well. Agreeing with you, Jamie, that that content creation, getting that right and getting that hooked up live. If I'm on my corporate network and I want to actually just go and get some new data set, I should be able to do that and build some visualizations. So yeah, I'd like to see that innovation around that.
Dallas, how about you?
Totally agree with Jamie. I think we need some degree of creation capability, and I think SAP patted themselves on the back with Mobile BI5, getting all the content types in there. But I definitely think that's the next step.
Mobile authoring for the win.
Well, I know even personally, just my laptop stays on my desk anymore. I barely pick it up I don't pick it up and do work with it other than at my desk. So anytime I'm away from my desk, I'm doing it on a mobile device. And I think that workflow is becoming more and more common, especially with the youngsters out there.
Oh, great
youngsters.
Young.
Joshua.
I do have to share with you all that I did get the iPad Air. And I didn't expect to get a big fat tablet again, but it's so light and lovely.
On that topic, the iPad 2 dropped in Cape Town yesterday, and it was pandemonium.
No, that was a Coke bottle, Clint.
Touche.
God, look at
It is a Coke
Wow.
bottle, at least at my house it is.
Hold on, we need to add PR Nightmare to Jamie's.
You actually, Dallas, you wrote a blog about that, exactly that.
Yeah.
I did actually read that. Yeah.
We forgot our little thing. We forgot lower thirds. PR Nightmare.
We can get them next time.
Ask
Hey,
DS Lab.
So yeah, do we have a question we can answer?
one is very big, and we'll take that to a different show, and the other is maybe manageable in the context of this conversation. David Taylor asks, Dear DS Layer, SAP dashboards, exploration views, Design Studio, or Lumira storyboards? What is the future of dashboards?
Hashtag #AskDSLayer.
That's a great question.
So I think, it really depends on how far out you want to look. I think in the near term, SAP Dashboards, formerly Excelsius, is still the tool that most users are going to use because, quite frankly, nothing else is quite ready. I like the idea of storyboards in Lumira, but it's got to be fleshed out a little bit more. Just in terms of being able to bring in multiple things from different sources and view them in one sort of set, and to up the interactivity beyond just I want to filter, right? Because that's a lot of what Excelsius has always been great at is letting people build applications. So I don't think it can go away yet because Design Studio is not really ready for most agnostic customers, and it's a lot more of a developer tool than Excelsius is, right? Excelsius is just, if you're a great tool user, you can use Excelsius. But to use Design Studio, you've got to be a developer. So I think that's a big gap.
At one time I think you would have handed Excelsius to a power user / analyst as well, but now it sounds like that's Lumira and storyboarding. So does Lumira continue to erode that potential user base for dashboards?
I don't think so because I don't think you can do enough with it yet, right? I mean, you're limited to show me the data in one data set that I've put together, and the only interactivity that I can do is filter, right? Which is not what dashboards do, right? Dashboards let you drill in, they let you change your axes, they let you do all sorts of fun stuff, dynamic visibility, lots of different things that storyboards can't do yet. I mean, storyboards is a great step, right? And I think it very soon will match the flexibility of exploration views, but it's not going to be for authoring enterprise content.
Well, let's be honest, Excel is a programming language, right?
Sure.
So don't forget also Design Studio 1.2, I think, will hit shelves this month, November, right?
Yep.
Which will add universe support. There's actually an ASUG webcast about that coming up, right, with Eric Schema. So that's something I'm really looking forward to that because to date I've kind of just avoided Design Studio because there's just no way to play with it, apart from setting up a HANA system or a BW system to get data in and to use it. So I think once SAP add that universe support, then there is at least an option for customers to start to download it, to see, to learn it, and then the kind of ramp up and the conversion for customers will be able to begin with. They'll be able to start actually, can I take this dashboard and convert it? Because you're out of the box, you're getting all the mobile support and HTML5. There's a lot of good things about Design Studio, but customers that are agnostic have not even been thinking about it. They haven't been evaluating it yet. So that can start now, with 1.2.
Just on that topic, just a shout out to the guy who asked the question. If you can just reach out, Lester Meadows from Kimberly Clark did a great put together a great presentation of all the different tools on top of BW and non-BW data and all the features they do and don't have. So reach out to me on Twitter. I'll connect you with him. It was a great stab at based on what you want to achieve and based on your data set, what you can get out.
I guess the final question I have then is, it's a valid question, and he's underscored similarities across 4 different tools in the platform. Does that create consumer confusion? Because, if I can't do this here, but I can do that there, is that the right tool? Yeah, Lester maybe figured it out. There's a couple of presentations out there that's picking the right tool from the toolbox, but...
Isn't that a whole nother podcast?
Oh, crap.
I think it probably is.
Eric, I think we're just we're just kind of in a, we're in a spot where, like others have said, some of the newer tools don't have the maturity, and some of the tools that do have the maturity, the handwriting is on the wall for them. So, I think customers just have to, toss a coin and make a decision on how to implement a project on a case-by-case basis.
And to that point, and Greg quoted a little while ago, you can expire tools, but you can't expire content. So SAP has to help us solve for that.
Chuck Norris can expire content.
Oh, that belongs on a shirt. Somebody get on that.
Tired meme. Sorry.
Yeah, wait, no, you're a timer. All right, well, we've been at it for a while, gentlemen. I'll be eagerly waiting to hear what Ty has to say, and hopefully it fuels the masses both on the agnostic and on the classic SAP ERP BW side as well. Anything in closing before we call it a day?
Nope. Good night, everybody.
Also, wait, no, the day's just starting, man.
No.
I'm going to Sundowners. That's about it.
Oh yeah, wait, you guys are in a different continent. We're just lucky Clint actually stayed connected the whole time. Clint, what? Who did you have to kill to get good bandwidth?
So when in Rome, I stole my own cable, which are just wired in here, so we good.
All right, we'll keep that up, man. All right, well, thanks for the chat, gentlemen, and I will look forward to catching you all again soon. Cheers.
See ya.
This podcast is hosted and sponsored by EV Technologies. Visit us on the net at savethecms.com.
D-Slayer!